Hey, I want to take a moment to tell you about Anchor. I absolutely love Anchor, and it's the easiest way to make a podcast. That's why I use it. Let me explain. It's completely free, and there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and every other podcast platform out there. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Switch to Anchor and never pay a hosting fee again. What you need to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hello and welcome to a new week of the 99% Local Podcast. We are at episode 17, and oh boy, this is going to be a good one. First, to find out anything and everything about this podcast, you can visit the website at 99percentlocalpod.com or hit me up on Instagram. If you love what I'm doing, I'd like to encourage you to do two things. The first, leave me a review of the show wherever you listen to this podcast. The second is considering contributing to the podcast, either monetarily or by purchasing a t-shirt or sticker. You can do that at 99percentlocalpod.com/contribute. All right. My guest on this week's show doesn't really need an introduction, but he's a singer, performer, songwriter, and American Idol Season 17 finalist, Eddie Island. If you're counting, yes, Season 17 was last season. Also, if you know anything about American Idol or have been watching last season, you may remember Eddie as the unofficial mayor of Nashville. Yeah, the guy that came into the audition with googly eyes on his guitar and Nashville mayor buttons. Eddie scraped his way through small college towns, playing shows with punchy folk ballads until deciding to move to Nashville, where he became part rideshare expert, part marketing whiz, but mostly a songwriter. Within the last couple of years, Eddie decided to quit all regular jobs and adopt the Eddie Island lifestyle that led to American Idol's Top 14, where he shows the world that there's room for everyone on the island. Listeners on the island are invited to enter a world where Eddie is searching for love, meaning, and a seemingly limitless future. Those are his words, not mine. But I'll leave the rest of the story to him. I really enjoyed this chat with him and really appreciated his authenticity when it comes to music and life in general. Buckle up and enjoy this conversation with musician and American Idol alum Eddie Island. And as Eddie would say, welcome to the island. I'm trying to get back to California, trying to get back to when I call you. You'd answer every time, you'd answer every time. Trying to get back to when we were younger, trying to get back to when we were younger. So young and we got time, so young and we got time. So where are you today? Are you in Nashville or are you traveling?
I am in Franklin, vibing. I love it, man. Yeah, I'm in Frank right now. It's the dream.
Yeah, you live in Franklin, right?
No, I've lived all around. I live in Nashville now, yeah, but
okay.
I love Franklin. I've lived there before, though.
Yeah, the downtown's cool just to walk around and...
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get this out of the way right away. So where did the name Island come from?
Okay, so my friend texted me. I moved here around 5 years ago for the Paramore concert. After college, I graduated Cedarville University in Ohio. It's like outside Dayton. It's like next to Yellow Springs. It's like this little crazy Bible college. And I basically graduated that and then moved to Nashville. My friend was like, hey, I have a ticket to see Paramore at the Opry. And so I was like, dope. I interned the summer before I moved here for American Songwriter Magazine and an audio branding agency called IV. At the same time, it was crazy. It was like one during the day, one in the evening. I was just like crazy. I lived in Fairview, my friend's couch, like So I was like, man, I love Nashville. I'm obsessed with it. Like, I love the magic there, and I want to do music. And if I don't make a move and I don't go for it in my life, like, my dreams are gonna die. And so yeah, I moved here for the Paramore concert, never left. And I just literally moved like I think 10 times my first year in Nashville. Like, I was just like couch surfing all over the place, crazy Craigslist places, homes all over the place, from Facebook and Craigslist, and like crazy people that wanted me to be their son, and like just really insane. Like, if someone's posting a room for rent that's available, like during a housing crisis that we had during that time, because everyone was moving here and there was like no apartments, there's a reason why it was available. It's like there's a reason why no one wanted to live there. So I was, hopping through all that. And so I was living with some friends from my college, some alumni. I was sleeping. I was sharing the living room with another intern, with a PVC pipe like divider that I built in the Home Depot parking lot of Franklin. I literally sawed the pipes on a shopping cart to make them fit in my car, with like a moving tarp. I made like a little makeshift room, and I was living in there and working, I think, at Target. Okay. And it was crazy, like definitely a low point, but also a high point. And I'm in there, and I am like, what am I doing with my life? This is so crazy. And I was kind of depressed, and I was just like isolating myself. And my friend texted me, and she was like, I feel like you're becoming Eddie Island. And I was like, that's the name. I'm like, that's the thing that I needed. That's the little, like, the core component of the whole brand. Yeah. And so I was like, wow, that's the name. Like, I'm Eddie Island. Like, that fits me. And so I kind of started calling myself that as a joke. And then one of my friends, Matt, he also goes by Blake, also goes by Humble Savage. There's just a lot of crazy friends. But he was like, oh, it's Mr. Island. Like I'd go to parties and stuff, and like people would be like, oh yeah, like that's Eddie Island. And so it just kind of became this thing that kind of kept snowballing into what it became. And so, yeah, I was like, well, that's the easiest name. And honestly, that was the most memorable. I kind of, after a while, I'm like, okay, no one really remembers anything else besides the Island Guy thing. And so that's what stuck, and that's what had a ring to it, and that's what I ran with. And here we are. And then it kind of just, the good vibes just kept going, and I kind of used that low point and flipped it into a high point, and then kind of kept going. So it was wild.
Yeah. Well, cool. So where are you originally from?
I'm from Fairfax, Virginia, like outside DC, Northern Virginia area. Like the metro stops behind my house. I often say like DC, but it is technically the suburbs.
Yeah. So is that when you got interested in music back when you lived in Fairfax, or did you grow up playing music?
I grew up like really virtually knowing nothing about music. I didn't even know music was a thing until I was in middle school. Like, I would listen to the oldie station in my car, my mom's car, driving around, and sing along to it and hear like Elton John and all those songs. But I didn't even know what music was. No one in my family did music. I had an uncle that played guitar and wore the similar kind of glasses that I do now, but it was all kind of like, that's the crazy music uncle. Like, no one does music. And really DC, like, at least the suburbs and stuff where I'm from, it's extremely looked down upon. Like, everyone there is extremely competitive. They all are senators' kids, or like, work at a bank. And anyone that did music was like a loser who worked at Guitar Center. It was like or on drugs. Like, that was kind of what like the stigma was. And so my uncle gave me a guitar for Christmas, and it was like a little Squire, like, nylon string guitar. And I hated it. I tried to learn how to play it, and I couldn't. My fingers hurt, and I couldn't do it. And I put it in the storage, in the basement. And then in middle school, I started like having all these feelings and wanting to express myself. And I just went and got the guitar and started writing songs out of the storage, and just did it. And my friend gave me a mix CD with Red Hot Chili Peppers on it, and I was hooked. And then I ended up, my first album I ever bought was Hot Fuss by the Killers.
Right on. Yeah.
And so that became like, and music was just this whole world that I got to explore and like kind of like lose myself into. And so it was awesome.
Yeah. So were you playing music in college, or around? Or?
Yeah. So my first time ever playing in front of an audience was at my school's talent show. Like, I literally wrote a song about graduating, and signed up. Everyone thought it was a joke. They all made fun of me. And I ended up going up there, and I had sunglasses on at the time. I was so scared. I closed my eyes while I sang, and I ended up shutting the entire show down. Everyone started crying, and they ran up and hugged me by the end of it. And it was insane. And that was when my mom and everybody was like, okay, whoa, maybe you should do this as a job, or maybe not as a job, but maybe you have a talent. Because I was just singing songs in the kitchen and hanging out. But my parents were like, oh, everyone's kid can do that. You know, everyone's kid sounds like this. And it was like, no, they don't. But we knew nothing about music or what to do or any industry. There was nothing there, you know. And my parents grew up in the DC area, like, and they never like left. So it's kind of just like this whole like hidden world that I kind of had to like go find in Nashville. And so, yeah, I went to Cedarville, Ohio for school for Cedarville. It was the only college that asked me how I was doing in the admissions office, so that's where I went. Like it was real though. Like it literally was like, they're like, how was the drive? And I was like, oh, well, you guys are like nice, okay. And I loved the school, and ended up going there, and I did marketing and communications and business as a focus, and then I just played shows and wrote songs in my dorm, and did a bunch of folk music, and now I'm actually releasing all of the folk music that I wrote growing up and in college. Some songs are almost 10 years old on this new album I have coming out called Folk Star. But yeah, that's kind of the direction I'm going back into, is just me and the guitar. But yeah, it was just always me and the guitar writing songs in my room, and then went to Cedarville, played shows. I did like the big Cedarville talent show and blew the place out. I did Mumford & Sons, I Will Wait, in front of everyone. It was kind of this scary moment. I was this like overweight, nerdy kid that no one really liked. And then like I went up and sang that song, and then everyone was my friend overnight. Kind of like American Idol, I feel like, but that's like the lesser level to that. But yeah.
Yep. So you get to Nashville, you're moving around, living different places, sounds like doing different jobs. So did you start playing music again right away when you got to Nashville? Or was that kind of something, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I moved here, and I was like, look, I'm not gonna go do the stupid like gigging thing and like go play a bunch of bars or go play a bunch of
Broadway
open mics for a bunch of losers. Yeah, and so I was like, no, I write songs and I really do it. And so I played a couple of solo shows. Met some people, they liked my songs, they wanted to play music. But mostly what would happen is like I would meet somebody, they would love my music and be a huge fan, and then they would like bug me to play with them, and then I would end up just doing a show with them, or they would play for me for a show. And so I think the first place I ever played in Nashville was Crying Wolf. I played like the back room, and it was crazy. Like I literally walked into a biker bar with like a giant stuffed monkey and like flowers and like island stuff, and tore it up. And then I met one of my best friends, Patrick Gleason, and through a mutual friend. Actually, I met Bailey and Pat, I think the same night. It was crazy. Or it was through Bailey I met Pat. But I met all of them, and they wanted to start doing shows with me, and so they would play with me as Eddie Island. And then eventually we had a band called Paid Vacation, or Paid Vacay, this indie rock band. We played a bunch of like crazy shows. Everything was kind of like ad hoc or just random. It was all kind of like chasing a feeling. It was never like an industry thing. Like no one ever like put me on. No one ever helped me at all. Like I had so many managers scouting me. Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a journey. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked crazy odd jobs. I mean, I worked so many different places.
Yeah. So this is flash forwarding a couple years. So, but let's get right into the Idol thing. So, how did that audition come about? You know, walk me through that.
Yeah. So what happened was, I walked into Lightning 100 with a cat mask on, a cake, and a CD and a piñata. They broke the piñata and put my song on the air. The song's called Black Cat. That's what happened and got me the band, and that was one of the first things I did. Like when I moved here, and so that's kind of what got the ball going and some interest. But anyways, that's like a moment. But so American Idol. So I was working at the Lyft office, downtown Nashville, social media, and I was like, look, I'm miserable. I was working crazy hours. It was like 3:30 to like 1 a.m. Like on Broadway. And I was just stuck in this job, and like, we bless them. Lyft was a great company and everything, but it was just kind of like, okay, like I'm giving up my dreams right now to do this. And like, there's no space for me to play anywhere. There's no time for me to do anything. And so, yeah, I called my parents on the phone, and I was overlooking the river as a little riverfront. I literally said I was going to, die in a ditch or be on TV and do music as a job. And I was like, I'm going to jump off that bridge if I don't do music, but I'm going to live. And it was like, it was crazy. I just said all this crazy stuff, and they were like worried about me. And I was like, no, like, I'm so into it. And so I quit my job. I started driving for Uber and Lyft full time. Going from the office to driving was like, what are you doing? Everyone thought I was nuts. And I just knew I needed to make space. Like, your dreams can't happen if you don't make space for them to come true. And basically I just quit, and I started doing that. And then one of my friends put me on for this Belmont associated thing. It was called Project Pink. My friend Pink Slip, he's a producer. He lives in LA now. They had a 24-hour, 48-hour live stream, Red Bull sponsored songwriting event. And they had all these artists coming in and producers from Korea and all this stuff they were doing. And what ended up happening was they didn't even know who I was. And my friend fought for me to get in there. And I was in Studio B, with a bunch of just misfits. And what ended up happening was we started tracking, and they actually stopped the session in Studio A and came and watched me sing during this event. And I was like, okay, good. I'm really good at writing songs with people, and I need to do this more. And so that kind of kept snowballing. And my friend tagged me in a post on Facebook on the YEP page, the Young Entertainment Professionals page. And it was a talent scout. It was we're scouting for a TV show. It was anonymous. And so what it ended up being was Helena, I became on their team. So Todd Cassidy with Helena, Todd actually ended up managing me. So I met with, they were I sent him a crazy email. So I was on my Chromebook, Ubered, and then I was like, all right, taking a break, went on my Chromebook at the Cool Springs Mall at the Starbucks.
Yeah.
And I actually went back there and sat down and sent an email to Katy Perry at the same place. It was crazy. But I did that. And so I emailed them this crazy email, full sauce. I'm Eddie Island. Welcome to the island, as the way I always would to people. And I had all the emojis and crazy photos, and I had my songs. And they ended up saying, we want to meet with you right now. So I met with them at the Well and by Lipscomb. And I met with Todd, and I was like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, we're talent scouting for American Idol right now, and we have no idea what's going to happen. And it's such a slim chance, but hey, I got you a private audition at this hotel in Nashville. And that was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, a year ago. And so I was like, all right, cool. So I show up, I have my guitar with the googly eyes on, and my band kind of put all this crazy stuff in my guitar. I put the googly eyes on, and I drew on it, and kind of through this artistic expression, I started expressing myself and kind of being more free. And I'm kind of going to be back to that vibe and channeling that again soon. I feel like I had to kind of get a little more professional for the show, but I know it sounds crazy, but yeah, it's true. But I know but anyway, so I did all that. And so, I went to this crazy hotel, and I'm in the hotel I brought my roommate at the time. I was living in Franklin. I was living in Carrington Hills by Steak and Shake, down the street from Luke Bryan, which I found out later. But Gabe, my roommate, was there. And basically Gabe and I, he had this song that sounded completely different than what ended up coming out. It was called Stay Okay. I don't even know if it was called Stay Okay. I think it was called something else. And I heard he played it, and I was like, man, this song is kind of trash, but it would be really great if you sang it like this. And I played it back for him with completely different melodies. And I wrote all the verses, and all the lyrics are mine. But he was like, that's awesome. We should do that as a song. And so that was a song we kind of had together. And so I just rolled into, the audition with Gabe and with my guitar, and waited in line, and, everyone else there was like this, staring at me and, talking trash. And I had this girl in front of me, little Miss Katie or whatever her name was, with her old manager with a $30,000, diamond encrusted inlaid Taylor guitar that she couldn't even play. And it was she's the best, she's the best. And then she ends up running out and crying in front of me. And then I walk in, they're all like, oh my God, what? And I'm like, yeah, how's it going? My name's Eddie Island. Welcome to the island. And I just, bow, and I did what I would always do at the parties and stuff. I mean, we played indie rock venues, where they'd have stick and pokes tattoos upstairs, people breaking bottles, cigarettes. I would take my shirt off on stage, and it was crazy. I would wrote cowboy on Sharpie in my chest. I mean, it was nuts. I really do it. And so I went in there and I said, hey, this is a song I wrote called Stay Okay. I did Ho Hey, but the Lumineers melted their faces. They went nuts. And then they're like, do you have any original songs? And then I played Stay Okay. And that's when they all were like, they looked at each other and they were like, wow. And they wrote a star on my page and they handed me a golden ticket. And then I was like, what? And so I called my mom in the stairwell, like crying, like, what the heck's going on? I have no idea if it's real or not. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, I got an email from Idol and they said, hey, we're doing a commercial in the desert in Vegas. And they flew me out to Vegas. So
oh,
it
wow.
was crazy. Yeah. So this was like before I even saw the Celebrity Judges. And so so I get the email and I got the golden ticket. Everything with the golden ticket was like, it's all like pending, like a lot of kids that I was with that, like, some people, I mean, they didn't hardly give out any golden tickets that day, but a lot of the kids I was with, like, some people didn't even get the actual ask to go to LA. So they said, pick your audition spot. You're going to appear in front of the Celebrity Judges. And I basically showed up for the actual, like, legit open call, like, situation. And so, yeah, man, Lacey was with me actually too. Nate, they had like a group of 10 people that I think they thought were going to go all the way.
Okay.
And so we went out there and they flew us to Vegas. Did the commercial in the desert at this festival called Rise Festival. They put these like they're like paper lanterns and you put like the fire underneath it in the desert at night, and then they all go in the air and you like write your your goals and your dreams on them, and they filmed us like writing our goals and our dreams, and it was kind of nuts because like we had to do so many takes of the video that like sometimes like you would put the lantern up and they wouldn't fly in the air. And so, like, we had to pretend like we were watching our hopes and dreams flying away, but they were really burning on the ground in front of us. We had to, like, smile and pretend like they were, like, flying away. So it was kind of, like, this funny thing where I was just, like, watching my dreams get burned. But I had to be like, yeah. So, but, yes, I did that. And so I was like, well, I guess this is kind of real now. Like, I guess this is a little bit more serious. Like, they're flying me out to, Vegas. And so, yeah, I went to and so I was like, all right, cool. And so the rule basically was if I was signed to outside management before I appeared in front of the Celebrity Judge, essentially, if I was signed to management outside before I appeared in front of the Celebrity Judges, then they would allow me to have outside management on the show. And that was a new thing that like really was kind of recent. They don't really do that. To be kind of all in their ecosystem. So it was kind of cool to be able to do that. And so, I remember just being in the Airbnb in LA and like I on the phone with Todd and I just signed about like a couple hours before midnight before the day of to his management. I had no idea what to expect. And I just took an Uber from the hotel and show up to this, the Hollywood Mall or whatever it is. And, big line of people, everyone's cheering, everyone's going crazy. And security escorted me to the roof and I waited in that big room with everybody. And it was nuts. We did a bunch of promo shots outside and everything. And then I walk outside and there's Ryan Seacrest and I say hi to Ryan Seacrest and we're kicking it. They say, hey, there's a vocal coach in this room. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I walk in and it was the Celebrity Judges. I don't know if it was intentional, but it was nuts. Initially, I screamed and freaked out. And they ended up like they were like, wait, Eddie's mic was off. Can you like have him do it again? And so I did it again. I was able to compose myself. I was like, okay. And then I walked in. I was cool as a cucumber because it was more of a physical shock.
Oh yeah.
Like you walk to this like set with like crazy lights everywhere and like 3D TVs and everything. And you're just like, what's going on? So, walked right back in and cool as a cucumber and killed it. And, they all were like, really, really like, what is wrong with this guy? Like, who is this guy? And then eventually I played and they all loved it. And Katie had the googly eyes and all these different things. And it was kind of nuts. It was totally I genuinely don't think it was planned. I honestly don't think it was planned.
Yeah.
Or if it was, but I don't think it was. I mean, everything was just kind of nuts.
Hey everyone, I have something awesome to tell you about to start off 2020 right. I want to take a moment to tell you about Shipt Grocery Delivery. Shipt launched a few years ago in Birmingham, Alabama, founded on the mission of simplifying lives. Shipt serves members, shoppers, and communities by offering convenience and freedom. So here's how it works. Scroll through the aisles of your local stores like Target, Publix, CVS, in the Shipt app and create an order. The Shipt shoppers then work their magic, keeping you connected and giving live updates from the aisles. Your order is then delivered and arrives as soon as 1 hour. It really is that easy. I use Shipt all the time, and let me tell you, going to the grocery store is not one of my favorite things to do. Shipt saves time, fuel, and headspace. With next hour same-day delivery, I have what I need when I need it, whether it's Monster energy drinks, ice cream, and even alcohol. Yes, Shipt can now deliver your favorite adult beverages. I regularly order from my local Target and Publix, but also have options to place orders at CVS and Petco. I absolutely love it. For listeners of this podcast, I'm giving you 50% off. Yes, half off an annual membership when you sign up. That's a $49 annual membership, which is regularly $99. You can cancel at any time, but I promise you, you won't do that after you use Shipt a few times. So here's what you need to do to take advantage of this offer. Head to my website, 99percentlocalpod.com/shipt. That's SHIPT.
So yeah, it was a crazy experience. And then it just kept escalating from there. Hawaii and flying back and forth, prepping, writing a whole album in a month and recording it in a month, and then releasing that right after the show ended, and having that be the quickest album ever post American Idol, and it was crazy.
Yeah, so I want to talk more about the album, but back to just the experience of being on the show. I know you performed a couple original songs. You did your audition with Stay Okay. I think in the Hollywood round, you performed one of your own songs too.
Yeah.
So, did you feel that was more risky to do one of your own songs than a cover?
Man,
or
everything I did was a risk.
Yeah.
Every performance was a risk. Like even with the Ben the Jet stuff, like I love that song. I grew up listening to it, but I never performed that in my life. And like I just learned it, went up there and had fun, and that's kind of what every performance was like. Don't You Worry, Child. I just love that song, and I wanted to do something without a guitar, and so we learned it real quick, and I did it. I think that it was a risk. At the same time, like low key, it's like I was like, man, like, well, I'd rather just go sing my song, and Hollywood Week was insane. Like people were, I had food poisoning. I was throwing up for 12 hours. Like the day I performed Follow You Into the Dark, I was throwing up. It was insane. Like I literally almost threw up on stage. I threw up afterwards and before. They actually were kind of planning on me throwing up on stage, and they wanted to catch it. But it was it was crazy, man. Like I was deathly sick. Like it was insane. I think the chicken was pink or something that they gave us. But it was always a risk, man. But at the same time, it was like I really do write music, and I really do do what I'm wearing the same glasses, they're prescription, it's all, there's not like a gimmick with it. It's really why I wear this every day. Like it's like in Franklin, I was wearing that every day. I was driving for Uber every day with those glasses on. Like it wasn't, and so I think that's kind of what people really realized is like, oh wait, this isn't like a gimmick. Like this is just who he is. And I think even people that I recorded with during the show and after the show or whatever, they all kind of came to me afterwards, and they were like, hey, when you first walked in, I thought you were going to be awful, because most people that wear clothes like you do and have a personality like you do, they're doing it to cover up something, and you're not covering anything up. I know.
Yeah, right.
Thanks for letting me know that you thought I was awful, but yeah.
Yeah, man. So you got to the end of the top 14. So once you get eliminated from the show, do they just send you on the first flight home, or?
Yeah, man. So literally, get off the show, have a 30-minute psychic evaluation with a psychiatrist. I'm not going to kill myself. And then I just texted the homie Ryan, who is he's on the staff there, not Seacrest, and said, hey, because my whole band flew out and my friends from college were there, and like they were all yelling at Katy Perry. It was crazy for the live show. My parents were there, and so I kind of just was like, "Yo, like, we have a one bedroom apartment in Venice." And so I ended up just like recording a bunch of music with my friends and almost getting kicked out of this Airbnb in Venice for like a month. I just like lived there for like a month, like 2 weeks at least, just in Venice, like randomly like floating around and writing music. And yeah, basically you just get kicked off the show and then they shuttle you away. You can't even talk to the contestants.
So your album. So you dropped the album, what, 5 days after the finale?
I think it was the next day.
Oh, really? Okay. So,
yeah, like I actually was going to do it on the same day, but I wanted to kind of keep good terms with the show. And it totally was not supposed to be that quick at all.
Yeah. So what was the time for, because, you said it was, 4 weeks, a year ago. And when was the finale? In May, right? This year?
Yeah.
And so what was the time frame of writing and starting that album and, doing the American Idol? Did you have everything
literally
done?
I do Hawaii and or something like that. And in Hawaii, I'm on the phone with my manager and and he's like, you need to get music out. And I'm like, cool. And then literally I have a bunch of rights booked and we literally record the album and start the album front to back in a month. I lost my voice doing the album. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, your voice. I literally blew my voice out because I was tracking an entire album.
Yeah.
And learning songs. And so, yeah, man, I literally did that album so quick. We had all these songwriting sessions. I had a couple of demos and ideas. I was doing writes constantly. Anytime we had a break, I was doing writes all day long. So yeah, the album was crazy. I had only songs I had before really the time period was Stay Okay, kind of, not even fully written. I remember I wrote songs in Hawaii, you know what I mean? I was working on stuff, but I didn't have a goal of an album.
Yeah.
It was flew back and then we sat down and it was we have to put something out ASAP. You have no material. And I had material here and there with Paid Vacation and my old Lindenbrook, which is my Lindenbrook is my name of the street that I grew up on. And that's the folk stuff that I have that I'm actually breathing new life into with the new album Folkstar. But which is, I'm really excited about that. That's going to be the first, because basically with industry standard, it was a bunch of co-writes. It was rushed. It was cool. It was so awesome. I got my feet wet. I put a bunch of genres out there. I did what I wanted to do. We put out songs that I wanted to put out. It's a taste of everything. But the type of writing that I'm used to is Black Cat, California Cosmo, where I would dive into these songs. I'd be the sole writer of the song or the majority writer. And I would create these experiences and it was this whole experience in this whole world. So I kind of grew a lot from industry standard, but now I'm kind of taking my knowledge from LA and that type of co-write and that type of industry vibe back to the original energy of the folk music and me and the guitar and the storytelling, which I'm excited about. But yeah, so that's kind of how the album happened. We just had a bunch of co-writes, and then my friend John Caldwell, he is awesome. Producer John, I hang out with him. I would just hang out with him almost every day and track and write stuff and did a bunch of crazy writes. And first day happened because I was writing with the two guys I wrote that with, and the guy kept saying "Sorry, man, it's my first day." Every time he was. As he was setting the mic up and stuff, and I was like, dude, that's the song. I was like, it's my first day being me and I love it.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up happening. So yeah, man.
Yeah. So, on industry standard, I hear, folk, even some hip hop influences, indie punk rock. So yeah, I mean, it's a wide variety. It's an awesome album. So I'm looking forward to what you're doing next. So, I know you have, I think there's a couple tracks or one track from Lindenbrook on Spotify, and I was listening to that, and I'm like, that's kind of more like the style you did on American Idol, and it seems like that's more authentic of who you are. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
The thing is, I really truly I do everything, and I like all genres. The thing is, it's I think what translates the best right now is me and the guitar. You can't get that twisted. You can't mess that up. I think, and also with touring and playing shows and such, like I get to just throw my guitar in the car and drive, or hop on a plane with me and the guitar. I don't have to coordinate band members. I don't have to coordinate a bunch of like I had a DJ set. Like I've done like so many different like styles, and like and it works out better just for me. I did so Saint Pressure is an artist who's amazing in Nashville. He's a producer, and I did a DJ set, kind of like he played this like synth bass and guitar and like DJ'd, and then his brother played drums, and we did a stripped down set, and then I did like a full band set with the boys, and then I did me and the guitar, and people just were like, the favorite one was me and the guitar, as well as the easiest one that I enjoyed playing the most, me and the guitar. So I was like, okay, dang it. And also, like, I really wanted to get back to that storytelling, folk, emotional, like, vibey, like, and that was where I came from growing up, like American Songwriter Magazine, Brandi Carlile, like, that's the vibe that I'm on. And so, yeah, we're back down with Folkstar, and that's the energy.
Yeah. So what's the timeline for getting that album out?
I'm definitely going to be releasing it. I have a budget. I have a company that I'm doing it through. I'm really excited. Basically, it's called Audio Network. They just got bought out by E1 for $250 million. And it's a really cool model for artists because, I hand them the masters. I get 50% of the revenue, and they monetize the music, and they do 70% of the sync on BBC. And so it's one of those things where it's like they manage the assets, and they let me have complete control over the album process and what I make. And so it's kind of like a win-win. So I can make music I want to make, and it'll be managed properly, and I'll be able to see revenue from that. And so just got my budget in, and so I'm working on that. And in terms of release date, I don't know. I'm aiming for like early 2020.
Okay.
If I can get that going. All the songs are like pretty much done because they're old songs as well as new ones I've written, just me and the guitar. And I'm probably going to be using some old homies that did like California Cosmo and stuff to produce it. But
so what else do you got going on in the new year? Are you going to be playing more shows, any touring, or
doing an artist residency and kind of partnering with this thing called Affinity, AFFINITY, Affinity Nashville. Like they do like monthly, like really cool showcase shows. I made music for a cooking show that's being pitched called Sipped, SIP''D. I made the theme song for that. They're pitching it right now to some people. It's like all drinks. It's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. A big thing too is I actually am a consultant. So I'm the social media community manager for Carl's Jr. and Hardee's. I work there part-time in Franklin. And so I run.
Their headquarters is there, right?
Yeah, I do that, and it's going to be remote as well, and traveling and, working with some other artists and trying to get things locked in. And, it's been fun doing shows, doing that, working on a house show tour or a tour with a big artist for 2020. Planning on, I'm self-managing now. I'm kind of, Todd's awesome. He's kind of becoming like an advisor role to me. And that'll be kind of like official soon. He's still my manager technically right now. And so he's great. He's kind of just like blessing me to go find someone in LA that could help me go to the next step. Just did an event at Bonnaroo with Totino's Pizza Rolls and just did an influencer thing with them. Doing a lot of photo shoots. Like I have my friend Bree. All the photos I posted recently of me in the bathtub with the plants, like she took all those. We just did photos yesterday, and I'm doing like weekly shoots with her around town and working on some collaboration stuff, like with some people. Like I might do a song with Caleb, Top 2, that year before I did it. I've been hanging out with him. He lives here. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff in the pipeline. I'm trying to think, like even like playing some corporate event stuff. Just did a surprise little like appearance at Edley's for, I think it was like a meeting between HP and the U.S. government or something. It was crazy. Really just trying to get balance. I mean, like taking time to kind of like get back into the real world and like process the year, because I just kind of, it was like the Truman Show.
Sure.
Like it just, it still is like the Truman Show.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but just getting close to wrapping up here. So, besides Starbucks, what are some of your favorite places to hang around? Nashville or Franklin?
I have Starbucks. I mean, I'm afraid to say things because I don't want to give out too much sauce, but my favorite restaurant right now is definitely Chef's Market in Goodlettsville. It's like this little like local place. It has amazing food. I love Pinewood Social. I love Dino's. I love Pearl Diver, the Flamingo Cocktail Lounge. I love the Franklin Mercantile Deli, Kimbro's. I have a thing for Chewy's, the Mexican place. Love Chewy's. That's probably a lot I can think of right there. And Honest Coffee at the factory.
So your Instagram account is pretty unique and a little crazy to say the least. But that's who you are. So so one thing we didn't talk about is this whole your social media is Nashville Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where did that come from? Because you made buttons for the show and everyone was calling you unofficial Nashville Mayor.
Yeah, man. My band, we had a crazy night, and my band was like, "We need to change your Instagram to something crazy." And I woke up and it was Nashville Mayor. They got the hand. And so people just started calling me the mayor, and I went on the show, they did the audition, and we made mayor buttons for the audition. Like Todd was awesome. He was in Helena. They bought some vintage 1960s like button press.
Yeah.
And so they hand pressed some buttons with my face on it. And that was a selfie that I took at an EDM show at the fairgrounds on a film camera. And that's what the cover of the album is the mayor button photo.
Okay.
I literally was like depressed and like looking off into the distance and like deep thought about the future and like dreaming a day that I would do music. And then I took this like crazy selfie with like a point and shoot film camera. And then that ended up being the cover of the album and everything else. But yeah, in terms of like the mayor thing, yeah, like people like that, we got the handle and then I just ran with it. And I just keep running with it. And it was amazing. And it kind of fits though. Like, I have the crazy camo jacket. People are like, "Oh my gosh, it's the mayor!" Like when I go around town, like everyone's like yelling, "It's the mayor!" Like it's kind of it fits, Like I'm Eddie Island Nashville. I'm like Eddie Island mayor, like Nashville mayor. Like it's just like I don't know. It sounds dumb, but like for some reason, like the two weird, the vibe of the island and the vibe of the mayor, like it just for some reason it's like an ice cream sandwich or something. It just goes together. I don't know why.
Yep, and it's working for you, man.
And it's worked. Yeah, man. I mean, I had a video from the actual mayor congratulating me. That was crazy. We actually almost flew him out for the event, but they didn't do it yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, anything else before we close out here?
I mean, I think, my passions are music marketing and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And so, like, people don't know, it's like, I love my job at Carl's and Hardee's. I also consult for other brands. And then entrepreneurship-wise, I'm really excited. I'm in the works of launching an online store with the Island for myself and just self-managing and probably going to be speaking at some marketing conferences. And so I'm excited about that because I feel like there's such a unique, spin on the whole social media thing, like having someone that did American Idol as well as like all the experience that I have. Like it's a no-brainer where it's like, man, like that's a unique perspective that people would want to hear about, like what it was like to do that and like how did I manage it and like, what types of things that you'd recommend if somebody did some sort of crazy experience like that.
Well, man, that's awesome. Yeah. So I wish you tons of luck with what you're doing. So, hey, so if I was going to play a song going out of this podcast, what song should it be?
I'd say It's All Love.
Okay.
That song is cool. I actually sampled the TMZ Kanye encounter in the song where like the TMZ runs up to the Kanye and then Kanye says it's all love and he runs away. That's in the song. because like I love that, like, and that's what I felt like. I understood what Kanye felt because it was like everyone was coming up to me at the time, and I was like, no, I gotta go. It's all love.
I'm back to me from the second grade. Sunshine all up on my face. Having a bad day, I can't relate. I'm Kanye running from TMZ. It's all love. Love, 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 love. It's all love, all love. Love, 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 love. It's all love. Oh, love, 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 love. It's all love, yeah, love. She says she's a velma, but I see me a daffy, killing him with kindness. It's been getting nasty. Every day improving, I'm better than last week. Only the real one, steady stay tracking. And all them bad times is over, and I've been sent to summer. And yeah, I just miss you so much. And unrequited, but it's all good. And uninvited, but it's all good. And I've decided that it's all good. And I'm excited cause it's all love, 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 love. It's